Hi everybody, how you doing? Happy Wednesday. I love Wednesdays. I was born on Wednesday, so of course, it's the best day ever. Anywho, so we continue on our journey, and today, sorry, it's a bit bright today. I can't seem to escape from the hot sun. Anywho, today, as we continue on our journey, I want to talk about one topic that isn't the most exciting to talk about during this whole process of a metamorphosis, and that is trials. Everybody goes through trials, and just because we've decided to live our utmost for the highest of Christ doesn't mean that we escape it. Because before the caterpillar becomes a butterfly, he goes through that whole season, like of going into a cocoon or whatever. I don't know all the scientific terms, but you know what I mean, where they have to die to self, and they have to go through the darkness, the pain of all they've ever known in their whole lives, being changed and metamorphosed into something else. Those come in the forms. For us, those are the trials that come, that move us from one place to the other. Okay, like what you do when, because today I was talking to a good friend of mine, and some stuff came up, something they're going through now, and I can just feel their pain. But then I also know that with God, these things happen for His glory. It might sound crazy, and I'm not being insensitive or callous here, but as you read the Word of God, that's what He tries to teach us. What do you do when you've given your everything for Christ, and then your wife gets cancer, or your child gets an incurable disease? You're like, what? Jesus? Where are you? Like, this is not what I signed up for. You said I should give you my burdens. You said that your load was light. There was no yoke with you. Jesus, what's going on? But then you know what? He never says that we'll never go through trials. He says it's those He loves that He tests, that He disciplines, because even Jesus had to go through the wilderness and be tested before He began His assignment here on earth. Those things just build up your character, get you ready for where you're going. Today, the verses that we'll study or focus on from Luke 10:38 going. It's really about a man in the Bible called Lazarus and his two sisters, Mary and Martha. And Mary is one of my most favorite characters in the Bible. I just love Mary. I first found out about her from the Luke 10 chapter where Jesus has gone over to their house, and like he's just doing what he does, teaching the word, and she's sitting right at his feet, right? She's just soaking it all in. She's just worshiping at his feet. And I say worshiping because in the King James, it says the title of that pasture is she's worshiping, and Martha is serving. Worshiping and serving. And I find it very apt, because before you can be a true servant of Christ, you have to know how to worship Him. You have to learn how to sit at His feet and really know who He is and soak up His information and love Him. Because another way, a word for worship, is just devotion. Like, you're so devoted to Him that you're sitting at His feet like, I'm like, yes, boss, whatever you say, I'll do. I just want to hear you. I just want to be around you, even if I have to sit at your feet. Like the way you love that boo in your life, where whatever He wants of you, you're willing to do. And so she was like at the feet of Jesus, just soaking up whatever He was saying. And then her sister Martha, she's doing what the good woman should do. She's serving everybody, she's cooking, she's making sure everybody eats, everybody's comfortable, whatever. And then she goes to Jesus and she's like, Jesus, aren't you gonna say anything? Mary's just being lazy. She's just sitting here at your feet, just chilling here at your feet whilst I do all the work. And then Jesus said there is only one thing needed, and Mary has chosen that. In life, there is only one thing: sitting at the feet of Jesus, soaking up His words, His presence, His glory, who He is, getting to find out more about Him. He said only one thing needed, and Mary has chosen that, and it will never be taken away from her. Never. Not to say you shouldn't serve. That story is for another day. But clearly, Jesus is making the point that you have to prioritize in life. Serving is great for others, but you have to know who you're worshiping. Worship first, and then you can spread the love out to others. But if you're not a good worshiper, if you don't know Christ, how do you really serve others well? Because your service will be out of your own understanding, so it's not going to be very effective. It's not going to be very awesome, right? So anywho, that's where we learn about Mary and Martha, right? And it says about them that, Jesus loved them. This is His peeps. This is where He goes to hang out and all that good stuff. So then we move on to John chapter 11, which is another, that's one of my life chapters. Like, John 11 is just epic. it's one verse that I remember back in like 2007. My dad gave me that chapter to read, and I remember it like I heard it, and I was just like, wow, this is deep. Okay, so it starts out like Jesus is somewhere with his apostles, his disciples, his peeps. They're going somewhere, and then word comes that Lazarus is dead. And how they describe Lazarus is like, Lazarus, the one you love, is dead. And Jesus is immediately, he's like, oh, he's not dead, he's just sleeping. This is not unto what's happening is not about his death, it's about the glory of God, for God's glory to be revealed. Remember, that's our ultimate goal, to reveal the glory of God, right? And then it goes on to say that Jesus loved Lazarus, he loved Mary, he loved Martha. So, because he loved them so, he continued his way for 2 more days. When they got the message that Lazarus was dead, it was 2 days already. Then after he heard it and he told his disciples that this was not unto his death, but just for the glory of God, and then it goes and it says how much he loved the 3 of them. So he continued on his way for 2 more days. 2 more days. So he continued on his days because he loved them. So he continued doing what he was doing. And then after 4 days had passed before he says, okay, let's go check out my boy Lazarus and his sisters. So they go to the town where Lazarus and his sisters are, and it says everybody's weeping, everybody's crying. Martha comes, she cries, she's like, like she says stuff about how, oh, if you had been, no, that's Mary. But she's sad, and Jesus is like, oh, what's going on? She's like, oh, he's been dead, and Jesus is like, oh, he's not dead, I'm the resurrection and all that. And she's like, oh yes, I know that in the end times, blah 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 blah. So anyway, Mary also comes, and Mary also comes back to his feet again, worshiping. Even now, though she's crying, she goes back to his feet, and she's like, you know what, if you had been here, this would not have happened. But I know that even now, whatever you ask the Father, he'll do for you. And then Jesus is like, where is he? Jesus wept, of course, the famous line in the Bible. Jesus wept, and like, where is Lazarus? And they go to the tomb, and then he says, where is this? Hold on. Let me update myself. I mean, I know this chapter, like one of the few that I know very well, but I just want to say the right words. He just says, take away the stone when they go there. And he says to Martha, Martha says, it's been 4 days. Right now, dear, the body is just stinking, like there's a bad odor, like you don't even want to go there. And Jesus is like, didn't I tell you that if you believe, you would see the glory of God? And then fast forward, he calls Lazarus. Lazarus comes out of the tomb. He's alive. All is well. Beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. Then I just want to wrap up with the verse chapter 12 of John, which talks about how Mary, who's the sister that I love, Martha's cool too, hey, you gotta serve. I like both of them, but I'm just saying, worship first, Jesus first before others, because you cannot serve others if you don't know Jesus. I'm sorry, you won't be very effective. That's just how I feel. So anywho, this same Mary, now that this has happened, because this all happened in chapter 11, in chapter 12, they are again together, and Mary goes where Jesus is lounging. I think they just finished eating or whatever, and she goes and she takes her most expensive perfume, super expensive. They call it spikenard or something like that. I don't know the name, but it was like extremely fancy, highly expensive fragrance, because back in those times, perfume wasn't what perfume is now. Even now, we have really expensive perfumes, but imagine like the most costly perfume, like you've saved up for your whole entire life. And she goes and she pours it on the feet of Jesus. And remember, the first time we meet Mary, she's at the feet of Jesus. When Lazarus dies, she goes to the feet of Jesus. And now she's back at the feet of Jesus, but this time she's pouring her most precious perfume on his feet. And then I believe she wipes it with her hair, her glory, because the hair of whatever at that time is what makes the woman whatever. But imagine your hair, using it to wipe a man's feet in the Middle East, where they walk a lot. Back then, dirty, but she was like, God, you are everything. You are my priority. I will pour my best on you, and I will wipe your dirty feet with my hair. You know how we don't mess around with my hair, right? That was her own hair. So anyway, so those are the verses. Now to tie it all in with trials. Now imagine that you've given God your everything. When he comes, you stop everything and you sit at his feet. You worship him in spirit and in truth. You are always in church, always serving. Whatever God asks you to do, you do it. And then now your brother dies. Your child is sick with leukemia. Your wife has a life-threatening disease. Your husband has an incurable disease. And then you're praying and crying out to Jesus and he's not coming. It's 2 days he's not coming. It's 2 years he's not coming. It's 4 years. You're like, Jesus, I lived my whole life for you for nothing. I gave you my utmost and this is what I get. Silence. Jesus, really? Are you for real? Is this what I signed up for? But it says it's right there in the book of John. 4 days before he went. And you imagine, before they had heard that he can raise the dead back to life and all that. But it had never been 4 days after. So by now, Mary's question is like, so all the stuff he said, all the time I wasted at his feet, all the money I gave, all the sacrifices I gave, all the love I poured on him, I made him number one. I shut everybody out for him, and this is what I get. 4 years now, and my husband is still in a, I don't know, coma or whatever. Jesus, are you real? Where are you? You said that you would always be with me, and this is what I get. But remember, on the 4th day, Jesus came. Jesus came and brought Lazarus back to life with just a word. Yo, he didn't jump, he didn't cough, he didn't spin around. Just the words. He just said, Lazarus, come out. And Lazarus came out. Remember the words that Jesus spoke to Martha. He was like, Martha, didn't I tell you that if you would just believe, you would see the glory of the Lord? If you just believe, no matter how long it takes, you're going to be metamorphosed from a caterpillar to a butterfly. Yes, the trials will come. But those come to just build up your character, build up your faith, get you to where I want you to be. Because remember the last verse that I spoke on, chapter 12, by that time, after Mary had gone through all this, she didn't just kneel at his feet. She didn't just cry at his feet. This time she sacrificed her best at his feet. She poured her most precious possession at his feet and wiped it with her hair. Because by this time she had gone through the fire. She had gone through the fire, and she was now a gorgeous butterfly. And she now happily gave her best for God, because she knew that God truly is God. No matter how long it takes, no matter how ugly it gets, just believe. Because Jesus said the first thing he said when he heard Lazarus was dead was that this is not unto death. This is just to reveal the glory of the Lord. So whatever you're going through, as long as you do believe, you will see the glory of God be made manifest. It's not about what you are going through. It's about God just trying to see if you do believe in him, if he can really use you to display his glory all over the globe. Will you believe against all odds when it looks like, Martha said to him, Sir, why are you going near the tomb? By now it's stinking. There's an odor. He's been dead 4 days. And Jesus wasn't even tripping. He just thanked God, and he asked God to glorify himself. And he said, Lazarus, come out. And out he came. Because raising Lazarus from the dead was never Jesus' problem. He was working on Lazarus, he was working on Martha and Mary and their relationship with Christ. To know that no matter how dark it seems, God is still God. So no matter what you're going through, no matter how tough it seems, maybe you've been out of work for like a year, you don't even know how to survive, or I don't know, whatever your little or massive life problem is. Nothing is too massive for Christ. Imagine a human being that had been dead for 4 days. 4 days. And with just his words, Jesus brought him out. Nothing we are facing is too difficult for God. There's nothing that he cannot do. It's always about us. He always wants to build us up for our next level, so that when we are displaying his glory all over the world, we'll be doing it, we'll truly mean it from our hearts. That like Mary, we'll be able to pour our best at his feet, because we will truly, from the depths of who we are, believe in him and love him. So whatever you're going through, know that God, he is God. So read John 11. It's a really, really crucial part of the Bible that will really help you go through whatever you're going through. So see you tomorrow. Be blessed. Deuces.